Hi, and welcome to my series Superheroes and Symbols. On last day episode, I introduced to you all for the concept of this series and talking about my favorite superhero of all time, Spider-Man. On this episode, I want to tell how Batman is just a symbol of perpetual grief. How prolonged grief will impact your life any aspect of it will be impacted by the grief, and Batman show us that what to do and what not to do, show us how the grief can impact your life and many other lives around yourself. Superheroes, well, they are the embodiment of the truth, the justice, and maybe the vengeance. And Batman is just vengeance. He can bring justice alongside him, but mainly he's a character that shows us vengeance brought by a grief. Imagine you are on your happiest day as a kid. You are with your parents, you are just living your life. You're just being a kid. And then a single moment changed everything. How the grief that Bruce never could have surpassed, never could have absorbed and live his life knowing that something happens and you can't do everything you want, you can't bring your parents back. The grief Bruce have with him, just he couldn't deal with this grief, and that makes him a unstable person, that makes him an incomplete person. I'm not saying everyone's complete, everyone has their problems, and one aspect of life is knowing how to deal with your problems. And this is one problem that Bruce could have never deal with. And many people can't deal with grief too. But Batman shows us that we can. We can surpass some problems, we can surpass some griefs alongside with other heroes. Like in Spider-Man himself, it shows us how to deal with our grief on many types, but Batman, I think, is the best symbol for that. On many media, Batman is shown that he can't exist without Bruce's grief. If you look at Bruce Wayne as Batman, that Batman can exist without his grief. And we can show it on, I don't know, even on the Batman episode where he lost his memory and he is like a coward because he doesn't need the grief. He wasn't being Batman because I mean, don't remember he was Batman too, but you know, he kind of doesn't care about his parents. If you, I, it's a kid show. I can't use it as an example too because that wasn't the whole theme of the episode. But on many media, on the recent comics too, but mainly on this amazing movie that is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. On this amazing scene that is absolute cinema.
It doesn't mean I don't care anymore. I don't want to let you down, honest, but it just doesn't hurt so bad anymore. You can understand that, can't you? Look, I can give money to the city, they can hire more cops, let someone else take the risk, but it's different now. Please. I need it to be different now. I know I made a promise, but I didn't see this coming. I didn't count on being happy.
So on this scene, Bruce shows us that he wasn't expecting to be happy. This is just so impactful. Imagine you base your whole life on one objective, but a feeling of yours, a I don't need to be happiness, but let's imagine it's the happiness. Imagine if you build your own life based on a single event on your of your life, or you base your entire life on one thing, but now you can't realize this objective because you are happy, because you don't need this objective anymore to heal yourself. You don't need that. You just encountered happiness. You are not alone anymore. He don't need to be Batman. He don't need to pursue vengeance. He can help Gotham other resources. He can provide more resources to the police, create more healthy programs to the poor. He can do the difference without going there and striking vengeance. Another media that shows how Bruce needs his grief to be Batman is a recent comic that is Legends of the Dark Knight number 16, and it's just awesome. Bro, it's tear making now. It's tear crashing. I don't know the right expression, but it's just tearing me apart on tears. Because this issue is awesome. It's well written, well drawn, well everything. If exists directing on comic that I think it exists, bro. This stops everything. I wish we have this on an animation or a short movie created by a fan. Please, Bad in the Sun, make something with this comic, or maybe even on a movie, bro. I would love that. But my wishes aside, let's go to the story. It's basically starts with the our well-known Bruce Wayne origin, his parents getting out of the cinema and going through, and they go to a very lovely alley with the name Crime Alley. They don't know how to read, okay? Everything aside, but the difference is something that for me was a reference to Tim Burton's Batman, that the murder is stopped by Batman, and well, wait, is this Batman origin? But it is Batman's origin because we know their names. Now we know this is Bruce Wayne, and there are Thomas and Martha. So then Batman stops Joe Chill. Now you know the mugger, and then this moment, Kid Bruce picks the gun and point at Batman. Bruce wakes up on Scarecrow lair, and Scarecrow told him that he didn't make a fear toxin and poisoned Bruce with this. He removed Bruce's grief. There's something similar on the Batman animated series, the new animated series, I mean, where Bruce gets more violent without his fear of killing. But here, Scarecrow removes the fear of Bruce losing his parents. He cures Bruce's grief. And the most amazing thing is that Scarecrow doesn't know what Bruce's grief is. He doesn't know what makes Batman Batman. But he removed that. It's awesome. Scarecrow is one of my favorite super villains, and bro, that's awesome. And Bruce just don't want to be Batman anymore because he doesn't need it anymore. He was doing it for the grief he had, but now his grief is over, and the only way he could he could make Batman live again is losing his parents. This comic have this message that for you, if you in a twisted way, of course, if you want to heal yourself on grief, You need to forget this grief. You need to surpass this. You need to overcome your grief. But this was the wrong way to heal yourself. That was forgetting. And Bruce don't want this because he wants to remember his parents. But sadly, remembering his parents is remember that they died and bringing back their grief. This panel is awesome. Is bro. I want to say cinema because I rip off Brown Table. But I really want to say this is cinema because this has the potential to be an amazing shot, an amazing voiceover dialogue on a movie. Bro, this just have so much potential. I mean, put a Hans Zimmer soundtrack, Danny Elfman soundtrack. If I find an amazing emotional level soundtrack, I will put on this and fuck off copyright strike. And bro, I want to find someone to voice over this too. But here it is. All the things I have done in the name of my parents. And now I have to piece the night of their deaths together from newspaper clippings. It kills me to admit, but I did feel better. Like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Like I could never wear this suit again and just be okay with it. But then what? I've lived most of my life based on the worst thing that ever happened to me. If this is how Batman dies, I shudder to think how Bruce Wayne would live. I can't just erase what happened. But maybe I can live with it just a little better. So, I think I proved my point that Batman is the symbol of the prolonged grief. Would like you to comment here if you can about how you could surpass grief or how Batman showed you that we can deal with your problems, these big problems I mean, like grief, goes with you your entire life. I don't want to tell you that just forget about it because as shown, forgetting about your grief is just masking your pain. You will still feel pain, maybe feel better, but what cost, you know? And I don't want to say for you to go adopt a kid or I don't know, maybe pet for you like a dog or cat, because maybe that won't help too. I just want to show on this video how Batman show us and symbolize that grief can be cured, can be healed, can be dealt with, and maybe the only thing you need is people for you. It's people that care for you, and probably these are the people that you care for too. Don't need to be your parents, don't need to be your closest friend, just need to be someone that you know that cares for you. Just let someone in, because maybe that person dealt with grief too. Maybe that person know how you feel. Thank you for listening and watching this video. My name is deco.py and program.
People relate to him because everyone has had dark nights of the soul. We all do. People with the most charmed lives have had dark periods. So everyone relates to the darkness that Bruce Wayne goes through. And what they admire about him is his ability to overcome it and to turn it into something good. And I think that makes him the most incredible character for me to play and for audiences to enjoy.